Welcome. You found your way to MindLife Mayhem.
Congratulations.
Conversations exploring critical challenges affecting people's ability to lead a full life.
MindLife tackles the construct of psychiatric disability as we have known it.
With brave and fearless thinking, MindLife finds new ways to challenge the old narrative.
We invite you, either as a help seeker or a help provider, to think, live and ultimately be different.
I'm Gill Townsend.
And I'm Helen.
We're ready to take on the challenge.
Are you?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What are we ready for? We're ready for talking about on community.
Oh, great. That's one of my favourite subjects.
Why is it a favourite subject?
Because I think it's just so crucially important, and I think we misunderstand what we mean by community.
Yeah, I mean, community and mental health, it kind of has been this mishmash, and yet I think it's time to stop, pause, and critically disrupt our thinking about it. Because have we got it right, or are we still running institutional-based services under the pretense that they're in the community? What do you mean by community?
Oh, what I mean by community is that rich world that we love to play in. It's diverse. It's made up of many different things. It's made of the people down the road who I meet when I walk my dog. It's made of my friends, my family. It's made of the people I meet in the IGA down the road. It's a whole heap
it's the
of
fabric.
things.
It's the fabric in which we live out our lives in.
Yeah.
And the relationships that are naturally occurring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are things for me that are interesting, things where the opportunities kind of to work, to play, to live, to work well.
Yeah. If you think about it, it's like this rich tapestry of the world where we can live and interact with other human beings.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the challenges is that we call, community mental health something that, sits within community, but I don't think community mental health services are of the community.
It's a funny thing when you say that word together, community mental health. What do we mean by community mental health? And don't you have a really great question around that?
Well, I've been thinking about this lately, and because I work with a lot of organisations that would name themselves as community mental health, or they've got buildings, their offices are in the community.
Yeah.
But I think about, if we go back to when people were locked out of their communities, in institutions, people who were diagnosed with a significant mental illness were in an institution that their whole world was on the inside there. And then comes deinstitutionalisation, and the thinking being that if people were able to live well in their own communities, that was a platform to doing well. And so that was great thinking, although probably poorly executed for most people. But we've actually now created community mental health organisations that probably have taken the community out of what they do. So are community mental health organisations utilising the resources of community to do their work? Or are they only using service resources to do their work? And I'm thinking it's the latter. I think, have we taken the essence of the magic of community, the healing factors of community, the opportunities that community affords us all as citizens, have we taken that away because people engage with a community mental health service?
Yeah. I think we've got invisible institutional walls around what we offer. And we didn't intend to do that.
I call that modern institutionalisation.
Yeah.
So instead of, years ago, people used to go to the lawns of the institution to have their picnics on to watch the crazy people. And now we put them in Taragos and drive them around town. But we don't actually use the community resources or engage with community resources to help people feel a place of to discover their own community. We actually help them discover the service land. So we have the specialised walking groups and the specialised craft groups and the specialised cooking groups and the specialised illness groups, where the only opportunity I get is to participate in my illness as part of my community participation. I'm still locked out of real opportunities. Not because I'm physically locked out of them, but it's more a mindset that they're not for me or not of me. I can remember there was this leader who kind of got this concept that they'd been running institutionalised groups in the community. She said, I've got to change this. And she recognised that they ran a walking group on a Tuesday morning and I still beat myself up around thinking, why do people with mental illness need specialised walking groups? Do we walk different to other people? But anyway, they seem to be on every service as, the entertainment of the day. And she realised that the Heart Foundation walking group, the one that kind of anyone that wants to walk together would go to, was operated on a Tuesday morning at nearly the same time, only a kilometre away from the mental illness walking group. And she thought it would be an easy shift to say to the group members, how about we just go and join this meeting, go and join this group? And she stopped and she said, oh my God, I got really taken back when one of the members said to me, but would they want us in their walking group?
And that brings us to the question about what can community do to open its doors and open its hearts and the groups to everybody?
I don't think community is stopping it. I don't think that's where stigma is. I think stigma around, the safeguards, the things that stop us from going to participate in everyday things are the service environments that actually invite us to stay safe and small within those imaginary walls. And so then we take on this message. I'm not expected to go and, I'm different. I need a special group here. And it takes some brave thinking to kind of go, no, we're not going to run groups that are freely available in the community within our service centre.
Because, and having worked in service provision myself for a long time, it takes a different set of skills and actions to help people integrate within a walking group, within the Heart walking
and that's
group.
If we want to walk as a group. I might want to walk on a weekend or something. But is that the thing that's stopping me participate? But what's this? What is it, do you think, that where the services aren't good at that keeps it safe for them to build their own empire, build their own institution within their own walls?
I think a lot of it is that mindset of not really truly believing in people's capacities to interact with other people in the community. I think we want to keep people safe. We feel that they're not able, so we make those decisions.
We have the service barbecue, we have the service outings, we have this, this kind of professionalisation of community. It looks like community. It kind of, has the same trappings, but it's not quite the right smell.
That's right. I heard a great, someone raised some great points with me the other day about the barbecue, because we always talk about the barbecue in the community. And this person said to me, what would it take for us to teach people how to run their own barbecues?
If they wanted a barbecue.
If they wanted a barbecue.
Yeah.
What would it take for people to
invite their own
friends?
How do we even know they're not having barbecues already?
Well, I think that's a really good point, because I actually think people do lots of things that we don't know about.
You found that out in the interviews.
I did. Found assumptions that we don't think people do things.
We think they're sitting at home. We're sitting at home, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for a worker to turn them up, to take them out for an outing. And what did you discover?
That people did amazing things that they don't tell us about. And what was I really delighted was this question of when did you last go out in the community and did something that you really wanted to do? Everyone leaned in and said to me, something I really wanted to do. So there are things that people do, and maybe they don't see how important they are for them in their lives. They are important because they're doing them, but they don't think that service providers will think they're important, or they might stop them doing them, or a whole range of things.
But it also sounds like service providers or help providers don't know how to engage in community themselves. They don't know what's in their community. They only know other services. So when they think about someone's got a need, it's a referral to another service. It's a service-first response, as opposed to thinking about who's in our community and what's in our community that this need we could introduce or help the person to connect to in a sustainable way.
Yeah. And Helen, one of the things that I think about then is, so if I look at me, where did I meet my friends? Where did I form my views? Where do I go for my entertainment? And I think I live quite a small life, but really it's work. Work is a huge thing for me. So that's where I've met loads of my friends through work.
We meet people who we have where we kind of go to, but also where we have a common interest, where we connect to sameness.
Yeah, and that sense of I need to belong to my tribe is really important for us as human beings. But my tribe is made up of people whose values are the same as mine, whose interests are the same. Sometimes it's made of people who might stretch me and encourage me.
I can remember this one day that was very early in my help provision years, and this psychiatrist said to me, "Oh, is so-and-so not very well at the moment? Let's call her Susan. Is Susan not very well at the moment?" I looked at this psychiatrist and I said, "No, she's very well. What gives you the impression that she's not very well?" He said, "Well, she's not coming to the groups. She's not coming to the advisory group. I'm only seeing her for appointments, but I'm not seeing her, participate in the things that you're offering." I said, "This is not a cemetery. This is not a burial ground for people. Susan's out there. She's discovered a love of reading to her grandchildren's class on a Monday morning. She's going to the church's group." This lady was retired, and she's going to the church's craft group on a Tuesday. She's volunteering for Meals on Wheels on a Thursday. She hasn't got time for this anymore. At once she did, but this was never ever meant to be a stopping ground, a burial ground for people to play out their days. So just because she's not turning up is not an indicator that she's not doing well. She's actually doing fantastic. I'm more worried about the people that are keeping turning up, that we've failed them.
Yeah. And I'm just interested in what we mean by community, because we throw it around a lot.
Well, I think it has to be naturally occurring.
Yeah.
So it's available to everyone. So I don't have to have a special identity to go there. So it's the pub, it's the footy club, it's the swimming club, it's the parks, it's the yoga groups, I would even throw in the dentist and the GP, because you don't need it's not a special group. Set up the culture pieces, the theatres, the art galleries, the things that the schools, the things that make up, that give us the opportunities.
You know what I call this? I call it the civil society.
Yeah.
It's the things where we come together as human beings and make the world that we live in. And what we've done is we exclude certain groups of people from those participation and decision making.
Yes.
And so we've got whole groups of people who don't take their rightful place in community.
But then I think this is where, we've got a huge lot of needs around connection.
Yeah.
Companionship, connection, celebration, those needs that we need someone else to join with to do. And we do those in community. And if we're locked out of that, the only places we have to connect with people are in very small spaces around difference or around illness or around disability of some description. And they're not life-giving spaces. So if I have to identify with my difference in order to engage in an environment, and that difference is not socially valued, and no illness or disability or life challenge is socially valued, therefore I become invalid, invisible. But we still say, oh, they're participating, they're showing up, they're engaging, but we're not.
Might as well still have your institutional pyjamas on.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we settle for that. I used to settle for that, thinking that this is the best. I mean, it was safe, but it wasn't life-giving.
So can we go back to this question about, have we taken the community out of community mental health?
Yeah.
And how do those of us who work in community mental health services, how do we bring the community back in again? We lost that art of understanding that community is a healer. It's where
itself. You do your recovery work.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't recover in a service.
Yeah.
You recover in life. You recover by out there engaging in life. And I think that's the first thing that the fallacy is that we think people recover in a service. It's an illusion. But I think that the challenge is that our service systems and the people we engage in, we haven't got out to walk the streets, to meet people, to knock on shop front doors, to go and introduce ourselves, to think about what's in our community. And therefore we go to service meetings with other service providers.
Yeah, that's our little gang. It's our network.
It's our safe space.
Hey, you know what I've been guilty of lots of times? Hiring someone to do a community map.
Oh my gosh.
I've done it loads of times. It's useless.
A service map, you mean?
Yes. No. Sometimes we've tried to do the community map.
But what's in a community map?
It remains just a list of names. We don't actually get active in it and use it as a tool for recovery.
So if you think about what's the challenge that community mental health services are there to serve, is that for people they've lost their place, their rightful place in community, therefore they can't use it to engage in and do that overcoming work. And we need those opportunities. So a community mental health service should be spectacularly good, and their specialty should be about helping people to connect to life-giving community opportunities, not to service opportunities.
So maybe what we need to do is to actually get clear about what those life-giving community opportunities are.
Well, I think they can be anything, can't they?
Yeah, I think they can
I mean,
be
I think
anything.
they've got to be things that are either work, love, live, or play.
You know, for me, it's the theatre.
Yeah, and what would that be? That would be a play, or would that be a live and play, love and play, work, live, love and play?
Work, live, love, play, entertainment, engage, connect with other human beings, feel that you're contributing.
Yeah. And I know for my husband, he's found the Coast Guard.
That's right.
And it's not just playing with boats, it's that sense of contribution back.
Yeah.
It's a huge need that many of us have, is that to feel valued, to feel a part of our community, we actually have to have this place that we can feel that we give, not just receive.
Yeah, that's right. That mutuality, that sense of being reciprocal in society and communication.
Can I be a bit provocative?
You can be a bit provocative.
Can I say
Helen.
this, what I'm about to say?
You can say this.
I'm wondering why it's so hard for service providers or help providers to support people or to see that their fundamental role is to connect to naturally occurring things in the community. And I'm wondering whether it's because it then becomes out of services control to monitor it, to manage it, to account for it, to include it in its KPIs, to keep it within this ownership of outcomes.
I think it could be. I think that could be.
Is that too hard to say?
I think it's hard to say. I think it could be. I think sometimes it's that we just don't know. We haven't thought deeply about it, and we don't know how to do that. We might not know how to do it well enough for ourselves.
That's true. So if we're not connected to our own community in our own lives, then it was really hard to support someone else to do it. And that takes hard work.
And I think also we're very prescriptive in what we assess are people's needs and what we assess are the things that they want. So
but I think that's the wrong
question.
Thinking. But I think you're right. It's the wrong question. We're asking what do you want as opposed to what's your struggle in connecting to community. And so if you're a community mental health service, there's something, if you're a MindLife service, you're thinking about, there's something about your mental well-being that's prohibiting it or making it really difficult for you to fully engage. And you're hiring us to help you get stronger about your engagement with community, nothing else, in spite of and despite your mental health.
And are we making assumptions that it's the mental health issue that's getting in
be.
the way?
And
it might be a whole heap of other things.
Heap of other things, and therefore the mental health service may not be the place to do that work in.
Yeah.
Because if my struggle is it's got nothing to do with my mental health that's stopping me engaging in the community, then why would I go to a mental health service? Just because I have a mental illness? But I think many people do.
Question, yeah.
Because I think everything is about is kind of coloured with this thing. Everything must be down to your mental illness. But it might be, I actually don't have a bus service. But a mental health service isn't going to fix it up, except they'll drive me.
Or it might have been that I've just lost connection with what my passion is.
Yeah.
Or there is a new passion that I haven't quite found yet.
Yeah.
I think we found our passion.
But I think, can I just say something here? I think we're asking that wrong question. So the fundamental question a community mental health service has to ask is about what is your struggle in accessing your community. Nothing about your problem, nothing about your medication, nothing about your diagnosis, nothing about your symptoms, nothing about your goals. It's what's that challenge? What's that gap that you're trying to leap between where you are and your communities over there? And therefore, let's think together and problem solve together some creative ways. And maybe it's walking the streets together just to find out what's there. Just to do your own personal mapping. What's in my street? What's in my block? What's in my neighbourhood?
Yeah. And how do we create opportunities for those to happen? How do we hold those conversations? How do we create those opportunities?
So do we dare say community mental health specialties got nothing to do with mental health?
We could dare to say that. We could dare to say that. I think we're about to launch into a whole heap of other things that could belong in other podcasts.
What's our call to action here for people listening? I mean, I think, I imagine we've raised some things that are a little bit maybe challenging, especially if they're running groups or they're driving people from A to B, or they're recognising that they've probably created a little a modern institution. What's our call to action? Is to maybe get out as a worker, walk the streets, find out what's out there and about. Ask that question of people what gives them energy, what gives them life.
Yeah, and I also think it's a fundamental shift in really recognising that recovery takes place in community.
Yeah.
And life grows and thrives in community.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily grow and thrive within a service environment.
Yeah. And so when people say we're a safe place, I think that's the most dangerous thing to say, because it actually reinforces everything out there in communities unsafe. Come to us, we're safe, instead of thinking about, wow, how can I support you and encourage you to take that step into stuff that you may have forgotten how to.
On that point, we're going to close this podcast.
Already?
I think so, because
I was just getting started. Until next time.
Until next time. You've been listening to MindLife Mayhem with Helen Glover and Gill Townsend. This project is funded by the Australian Government Department of Social Services via an information, linkages and capacity building grant. MindLife is an initiative of Bridges Health and Community Care. These podcasts have been recorded at the Arts Nexus studio on Madangi country, and the music is by Jeremiah Johnson. If you've made it this far, you are clearly a MindLife change agent. And we've got a gift for you. Go to mindlife.org.au and download the resources that will help you to continue to avoid the pitfalls in either seeking or providing help.